is Professor Chris Houston, and I will be your professor for Slavery, Civil Rights, Critical Race Theory, and Emerging Paradigms. This is a course that is being offered through the African American Studies program, but it is my understanding that some of you are not African American Studies minors, and that is perfectly okay. This course should be interesting and informative for students regardless of their major. So let's talk a little bit about what this class is about. So upon completion of the Critical Race Theory course, students should be able to master the following learning objectives. First, and most importantly, students should be able to understand the use of the law to both perpetuate and eradicate racial injustice in the United States of America. Secondly, students should gain the ability to critically analyze race and racism from a legal point of view. Now, while the law is used as a legal framework in order to analyze race and racial injustice in this country, critical race theory borrows from a number of disciplines, including history and the social sciences, psychology and sociology, for example. So students with any major should be able to follow along and gain some valuable knowledge from this class. So we will examine a number of topics in this course, and this slide pulls out some of the key topics that I want to mention today. So we will talk about slavery, civil rights, racial desegregation, mass incarceration of minorities, police brutality, voting rights violations, immigration issues, environmental racism, implicit racial biases, race as it relates to citizenship, racial profiling, race as it relates to the American Indians and their sovereignty, and a plethora of other interesting topics will be covered in this course. So here I want to highlight a few of the hot button civil rights issues and other issues that we will focus on in this class. So let's talk a little bit about some of the current civil rights issues that we will touch on. The police brutality and racial injustice issue is covered all over the news media right now, so I'm sure that it is an issue that many of you are familiar with. So we'll talk a little bit about the Black Lives Matter campaign, and we'll talk about some of the incidents that led to the formation of the Black Lives Matter campaign in response to rampant police brutality and other related injustices that have happened in recent times. We'll also touch on mass incarceration of minorities. This phenomenon is entitled mass incarceration, but it really just looks at who's being imprisoned and the relationship between race, socioeconomic status, and incarceration rates. As you can see from the slide, which says misplaced priorities, over-incarcerate, under-educate, we'll talk about some of the things, such as the educational system and the legal system, that lead to this mass incarceration phenomenon. We will also go in depth with our discussion of police brutality. We are right up the street from Prairie View, Texas, and last year, Sandra Bland lost her life in Prairie View. She was on her way to a job interview at her alma mater, Prairie View A&M University, and a police officer pulled her over simply because she failed to put on her blinker before changing lanes. This led to a series of events that culminated with her passing. We'll also talk about the police shooting of 12-year-old Tamir Rice, who was playing with a toy gun. We will discuss immigration issues. This slide highlights the immigration issues in Arizona. The protesters are in Chicago. But the slide raises a key question. When we are implementing immigration reform, is our objective reform so that we will have an immigration process that runs smoothly, or are some of the people who are implementing immigration reform operating with an objective akin to racism? We'll look at those issues in the class. We'll also talk about racial profiling. Many people think of driving while black, for example, when we think of racial profiling, and we think that this affects Black people, people of Afro-Caribbean, or African American descent. Mostly, but that's just not the case. Latino people are affected. And since September 11, Muslim people, Arab-looking people, Muslim-looking people are also affected. Unfortunately, it's hard to look at a person and guess their ethnicity in every instance. And people confuse Muslims with Sikhs and people of other religions. And so those who are engaging in racial profiling, be they police officers, be they TSA officers, be they immigration officers, have done this one too many times. And now we're drawing attention to another phenomenon of racial profiling called flying while Muslim. And then we'll also talk about slavery. We will look at slavery from two perspectives. The ancient perspective, which is the transatlantic and intercontinental American slave trade, and we'll look at what we call modern-day slavery, a phenomenon called human trafficking. It is important to note that now, currently, there are more people enslaved in the world than there were at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. We'll look at how race, how gender, how socioeconomic class play a large part in who the victims of human trafficking are. So I also want to talk to you a little bit about some of the exciting course components. It is my goal to make this class stimulating and engaging, even though it is not a live lecture class. One of the ways that I plan to achieve that objective is through the use of the discussion board forums. So here on this slide, I provided you with a few details about the requirements for the discussion board forums assignments. So first, every student must post at least one major response per month to the discussion board questions that I post each week. Next, students must reply every week to their classmates' posts. There are other detailed instructions in your course syllabus regarding post and reply post requirements and due dates. So please check out your syllabus for more information. Another exciting component of the course is the video presentation assignment. I like to think of this as your final project for the course. So I've asked students to choose a stimulating topic. It can be any topic under the sun as long as the topic relates to the material that we have covered in the class. The presentation must be 8 to 10 minutes in length, and there are two aspects to your video presentation. The first one is the video clip. The second one is the PowerPoint presentation. In your PowerPoint, you must include a summary of the talking points that you touch on in your video clip, as well as a bibliography of the sources that you have used and cited in your video presentation. There's just one thing that I ask, and that is that you make your video presentation interesting and unique. Interesting, interesting, interesting should be your mantra. I've included the video presentation assignment in the curriculum because I want it to be an interesting learning experience for you, for me, and for everyone in the class. So let's talk a little bit about assessment measures in the course. There are two. The first one is quizzes. Students will be given bi-weekly quizzes. These are open book and open note quizzes. You have to use Respondus Lockdown Browser, however. These quizzes are designed to be reading and comprehension checks. They are gauges for me and for you so that we can analyze whether or not you're keeping up with the reading and whether you're comprehending the material that we cover in the class. These quizzes are bi-weekly because this forces you to prepare for your examinations in advance. I really do not want to see the unfortunate circumstance of students having 2 or 3 days before the midterm or the final exam and having chapter upon chapter upon chapter to study in preparation for those important exams. So the bi-weekly quizzes will force us to keep up with the course material throughout the semester. And you can take these quizzes anywhere as long as you download the Respondus Lockdown Browser software. The other assessment measure is examinations, and in this course you will have midterm and a final examination. These are also open book and open notes examinations. As is the case with your quizzes, you will have to download the Respondus Lockdown browser software to take these examinations. There's one important difference though. Because these are major exams, you must take them at the University of Houston Exam Proctoring Center. And I say major exams simply because the midterm exam and the final exam comprise a significant percentage of the points of your final average in the class. All of the assignments are important, so I don't mean to detract from the importance of the other assignments when I say these are major exams. But I will post instructions for you on how you will take your exam at the University of Houston Proctoring Center on Blackboard at a later date. So please stay tuned for that information. And finally, how do you contact me? We will have virtual office hours, and we will use the Blackboard Message Center. So I want to say that I am always available to answer questions via the Blackboard Message Center. I encourage all students to contact me with questions about this course. No question is a dumb question. So if the question will help you to learn, ask it. I encourage you to do so. I'm readily available, and I look forward to enhancing your learning in this class. So I would like to welcome you to Critical Race Theory. I'm very excited, and I hope that we have a stimulating and engaging semester ahead. Thank you.